In a world often obsessed with outward displays of intelligence and success, there exists a subtle yet potent form of power: the strategic choice to appear less capable than one truly is. Imagine a social arena where individuals subtly compete, their words and actions carefully crafted to project an image of competence and dominance. Yet, amidst this performance, there are those who choose a different path. They speak softly, avoid correcting others, and refrain from boasting. They allow others to underestimate them, perhaps even perceive them as average or naive. But this perceived foolishness is often a deliberate strategy, a mask concealing a sharp and perceptive mind. Why would someone intentionally choose to appear less intelligent in a society that values intellect and achievement? The answer lies in a profound understanding of human psychology. The very act of needing to prove one's intelligence can be a sign of underlying insecurity. As the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer keenly observed, society often functions as a theater where individuals constantly strive to be seen as clever and superior. In this environment, the loudest voices may capture attention, but they also invite the closest scrutiny. When you enter a room proclaiming your brilliance, others will inevitably search for flaws. It's a natural human tendency. However, by adopting the opposite approach, by allowing others to underestimate you, you achieve a kind of invisibility. And in this state of being unseen, real power emerges. When people lower their guard, their true assumptions and insecurities are revealed. You gain the advantage of observing them without their carefully constructed facades. Schopenhauer believed that true wisdom often resides in those who observe and listen, not to outshine others, but to gain deeper understanding. Consider Socrates, who famously claimed to know nothing, yet through this very posture, he skillfully drew truth from others. His feigned ignorance was not a weakness but a tool, a way to engage with others without the barrier of perceived intellectual superiority. Similarly, the ancient military strategist Sun Tzu emphasized the power of deception, advising to appear weak when strong and passive when calculating, as surprise often outweighs brute force. This principle extends to everyday interactions. Think of two colleagues, one constantly highlighting their achievements, the other quietly and consistently delivering results without fanfare. Often, the latter gains more genuine respect and influence because their value speaks for itself, unburdened by the need for constant validation. In a classroom setting, the student who dominates discussions isn't always the one who achieves the highest score. Sometimes, the quiet observer absorbs more deeply and performs exceptionally when it truly matters. Even on social media, the constant self-promoter may leave a shallower impression than someone who shares insightful and authentic content sparingly. This isn't about manipulation in a negative sense. It's about wisdom in navigating social dynamics. It's about discerning when to speak and when to remain silent, understanding that a calm presence can be more revealing than a dazzling display. How often do we feel the urge to prove our worth, not out of necessity, but out of a fear of being overlooked? In arguments, at work, in personal relationships, the impulse to impress can be strong. Yet, does this constant striving for validation truly bring peace? Schopenhauer argued that our obsession with status and the opinions of others is a root cause of human suffering. The more we seek external validation, the more we relinquish our emotional stability. However, when we release the need to be admired, our vision clears. We step outside the competitive arena and begin to observe the dynamics at play with greater clarity. The person perceived as a fool, the one who doesn't rush to speak or correct, who observes from the periphery, is not necessarily weak. They are often unbothered by the need for external approval, a state of freedom that can be unsettling to those still caught in the cycle of proving and pleasing. This is why some react strongly to those who seem indifferent. They may unconsciously envy the quiet power of someone who doesn't need admiration to feel worthy. It's a paradox. The most desperate to be seen are often the least secure, while those who are underestimated may possess the sharpest minds. Real intelligence doesn't require amplification, and true power doesn't need to be on display. It operates without seeking permission or applause, needing only time and silence to exert its influence. Consider Diogenes, the philosopher who lived with radical simplicity and famously dismissed Alexander the Great's offer of favor with a request to move out of his sunlight. Diogenes wasn't playing a fool. He had transcended the need for societal validation. This is a mastery we can all cultivate. Strategically, playing the fool isn't about passivity. It's about clear observation, conserving energy, and refusing to be drawn into pointless ego contests. In more ordinary settings, the dynamic holds true. At a dinner party, the person who dominates every conversation may be less memorable than the quiet listener who makes others feel heard. In a classroom, the student who constantly seeks attention may be less effective than the one who observes and contributes thoughtfully when it truly matters. One chases validation. The other gathers wisdom. This approach goes beyond mere outmaneuvering. It's about outgrowing the need for constant approval, leading to a state of psychological sovereignty. What happens when you no longer need to prove yourself? When you disengage from unwinnable contests? When you can remain silent amidst clamoring egos, not out of lack of voice, but out of a lack of need to speak? You gain an unshakable power, one that doesn't dominate or crush, but simply endures. Schopenhauer sought freedom from the illusion that our worth is determined by the opinions of others. Once this illusion is recognized, we shift from reaction to observation. We see others striving to win superficial battles while we focus on understanding the underlying game itself. There is a profound peace and a subtle challenge to others in someone who isn't trying to impress. Such a person is difficult to bait, predict, or manipulate. They are not absent from the game. They are playing on a different, more profound level.